we're looking at retainers again. We're looking at how to turn contingent into that positioning of retained for the future. We've got a client who's just contingent. How do we then proposition them to go, right, here's a retainer for the future as an option rather than just walking away, taking the contingent, and then the amount of times I've had this personally where the client's then gone retained, this is how you can handle it.
Just go from the top of the retainer.
Retainer training it is, let's do it.
Well, thank you for all the detail here, Alex. This will ensure that I get exactly the right profile for your firm. Just to check, do you feel anything is relevant or have I missed anything so far?
No, makes sense.
Well, Alex, just out of curiosity, to help me provide you an excellent service, how have you typically worked with search firms previously?
We've always worked on a contingent basis.
Always worked on a contingent basis. I understand that some private equity firms have a no retain rule and prefer a contingent model. Is this set by you or is this set by other members of the firm?
Set by me.
And what typically do you like about this model?
Well, obviously, the other ties in and we eventually get the result.
Okay, Alex, and for this search, would you ever consider going retained on a search like this?
I don't see why we need to. You just asked a question, you knew that answer was coming because I've never done retained before. You've asked a question that's like, would you consider going retained on a search like this? No.
So that's something that's going to be in there.
What would make you to the point where you'd have to go try something different to get a search? Well, we'd have to be in this situation. And how far away from you are that? Asking that question, not asking questions. Because you know that he can't go, we could say, we'll never consider retained. And then you just out it. But if he says, we'll consider, we'd only consider retained if we got to this situation, you then know where they're at.
So it's asking those probing questions as steps to push it along.
But don't ask the question. It's like the old adage of in sales, never ask a question you know the answer to, which is partly true, partly not true. But you're asking a question of would you go, this guy's like, no, and then you're like, all right, so would you consider retained? And like, oh yeah, of course. Yes. It's just not going to happen.
Would you ask a question you know the answer to if it's going to push it in a positive direction?
Would you ask a question you know the answer to if you push it in a positive direction? Well, yeah, but
that's reaffirming.
You're asking a question you know the answer to. You don't ask questions you don't know the answer to, which isn't technically true in its true sense, because we ask questions all the time that we don't know the answers to. But when we're leading somebody down the garden path, you're basically just trying to sell a retainer on would you consider a retainer.
So, but you're asking more the questions of when would that point come? Yeah. Where you'd consider doing something a bit more proactive.
That's the time, because it's no, we're happy, you're not finding any pain points, so ask that question,
Yeah. And then that just tails off, oh, we consider it in 6 months' time, and then I could go, okay, well, I'd be more than happy to work on this on a contingent basis in the meantime. That would just involve a search through my network, see what profiles I have that fit the criteria. And then could you say about, I know this isn't necessarily we're at that point yet, but if I could send you across a proposal now for you to review, which is just an overview of our terms on an engaged basis, and then I can follow up a bit closer to the time post getting some candidates over to you on this contingent model.
Yeah. So then it's just, you've got your back up with your contingent model, but then also you want to justify the fact that you're going to then send. Let me also, look, we've got a pretty unique offering here with regards to considering that in the future. Then share about our engage model, and then say, look, I'll send you across the terms for the engage model. Obviously, I'll share you across the terms of the contingent. Is there any other questions that you've got with me? Mm-hmm. So you're then positioning it for the future, then it could happen. Yeah. What most recruiters do is we won't go retained, okay, never mind. Which I get if you're working on project sizes of like, well, even I don't get it. If it's like 1K, 1,500 quid project sizes, as in placement fees, then fine. But we've always got to be asking for that bit of business, because it's the difference now between them saying no now and then going and telling someone in the future. Yeah. And you're then in the party. Whereas you just consider, oh, I didn't realise you did retain. That's just criminal.
It's like bringing like brand awareness to the fact that we do this and this is actually our model.
It just puts you in the door for when they are really struggling, to give them a different option. It's what I did with Blackfoot Capital, it's what I've done with other firms, and then eventually it's being, okay, fine, we'll run with that then.
Could you also bring that into that conversation, saying we've had similar relationships start the same way with Blackfoot Capital, with Middle Ground Capital, we've worked with them on a contingent basis. It's not quite delivered the results that they wanted, they've changed model over to, because then it provides that comfort in the buyer's mind that other people have, we've only gone contingent, this one's gone now we go retained.
Yeah.